The airport was full of people rushing here and there. Announcements echoed in the big halls. Children cried, trolleys rolled, and tired travelers waited near the boarding gates. Monica stood quietly near gate 24, holding her ticket and passport carefully. She wore simple jeans and a soft blue sweater. Her hair was tied neatly, and her smile was calm and peaceful. It was a big day for Monica. She was flying to New York for an important business meeting, a dream she had worked very hard for. She had earned this business class ticket honestly, after years of hard work and sleepless nights. Today was supposed to be a happy day. But not everyone liked seeing Monica standing in the business class line. Across the hall, a woman named Karen stared at her with sharp, angry eyes. Karen wore expensive clothes and carried a shiny designer handbag. Her nose was high, and her eyes scanned Monica from head to toe, judging her silently. "She doesn't look like she belongs there," Karen whispered loudly to her friend. "Maybe she's trying to sneak into business class." Her friend chuckled, encouraging her. Karen tightened her grip on her bag and marched toward Monica. She stood just a few feet away and crossed her arms. "Excuse me," Karen said loudly, making sure other people could hear. "Are you sure you are in the right line?" Monica turned and smiled politely. "Yes, Mom. This is gate 24, right?" Karen smirked. "I mean, business class line. This line is for business and first class only." Monica nodded kindly and showed her ticket. "Yes, I have a business class ticket." Karen laughed, pretending it was a joke. "Really? Wow. Good for you." But her tone was full of poison. Other passengers began to notice the tension. Some shook their heads. Some looked curious. Karen didn't stop. She whispered loudly again. "People like her always try to get things they didn't pay for." Monica's face stayed calm, but inside her heart hurt. She didn't want to create a scene. She just wanted to board her flight peacefully. But Karen had other plans. "Security!" Karen suddenly shouted. "Someone is in the wrong line. I think she's trying to board with a fake ticket." Monica gasped lightly. Heads turned. People stared. 2 security guards rushed toward them quickly. Karen pointed her finger straight at Monica. "This woman is trying to cheat the airline," Karen said confidently. Monica's hands tightened around her ticket and passport, but her voice stayed calm. "I have my ticket right here," she said, handing it to the security guard politely. The guards checked her ticket carefully. Meanwhile, Karen stood tall, proud, and sure that Monica would be thrown out any second. Passengers whispered among themselves. Some took out their phones and started recording. The guard scanned Monica's ticket. Then one guard looked up and said in a serious voice, "Her ticket is perfectly valid, Mom. She has a confirmed business class seat." Karen's smile disappeared. "What?" she said loudly. "She's in the right line," the guard repeated firmly. Karen's face turned red with anger and embarrassment. She looked around. People were watching her, some frowning, some shaking their heads in disapproval. Monica gently took her ticket back and thanked the guard softly. But Karen was not finished. "This can't be right," Karen shouted. "There must be a mistake. She must have stolen it." The guards exchanged a look. "Ma'am," one guard said to Karen, "please calm down. We have verified everything." Karen's voice grew louder. Her friend tried to pull her away, but Karen refused to move. Monica took a deep breath. She knew if she argued, the situation would only get worse. Instead, she stood silently, a symbol of strength and grace. A gate agent walked over now. "Is there a problem here?" the agent asked. Karen opened her mouth to complain, but the agent interrupted. "Miss Monica is a platinum member with our airline. She is one of our respected business class passengers." The words hit Karen like a slap. She froze. Whispers grew louder around her. A few people even laughed quietly. The agent turned to Monica with a smile. "Miss Monica, would you like to board early? As our VIP guest, Monica smiled warmly and nodded. As she walked towards the boarding gate, passing Karen, she didn't say a word. Her silence was louder than any argument. Karen stood behind, humiliated, her mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. And the real story was just beginning. Monica walked down the jet bridge towards the plane, her heart pounding not from fear, but from sadness. She had stayed silent at the boarding gate, but inside, a storm was building. All she wanted was to fly peacefully to New York. But some people, like Karen, couldn't let others have their dignity. As Monica reached the plane's door, a smiling flight attendant greeted her warmly. "Welcome aboard, Miss Monica. Your seat is 2A. Please enjoy your flight." Monica smiled politely and moved towards her seat. Business class was calm and quiet. Large seats, soft lights, and kind service. She placed her small handbag under her seat and sat down, taking a deep breath. But peace didn't last long. A loud voice echoed from the back of the plane. It was Karen. Again. "This is unfair." She was yelling at the gate agent standing at the entrance of the plane. "I deserve to be in business class too. Look at her. If she can sit there, why not me?" Passengers turned their heads to see what the noise was about. The gate agent calmly explained, "Ma'am, you have an economy class ticket. If you want to upgrade, you must pay the difference." Karen's face twisted in anger. She felt humiliated. And in her mind, Monica was the reason. She gave Monica a hateful glance as she passed by and stomped towards the economy section. Monica turned her face towards the window, wishing the flight would just start. The flight attendants began preparing for takeoff. But Karen wasn't done yet. About 20 minutes into the flight, as the plane reached cruising altitude, something strange happened. Karen got up from her seat in economy and walked toward the business class section. Flight attendants noticed but allowed her to pass. Maybe she just needed the restroom. But Karen didn't go to the restroom. Instead, she sneaked close to Monica's seat when no one was watching. In one quick movement, she placed her own small handbag under Monica's seat. Then she walked back quickly, a sly smile on her face. Moments later, Karen pressed the call button above her seat and called a flight attendant. "I need to report a theft," Karen said loudly. "My expensive handbag is missing. I think that woman in business class stole it." The flight attendant's eyes widened. "Are you sure, Mom?" the attendant asked carefully. "Yes," Karen said, fake tears starting to form in her eyes. "I saw her touching my bag earlier. I want her checked immediately." The cabin grew quiet. Passengers whispered and looked toward Monica. The flight attendant, doing her duty, walked towards Monica's seat. "Excuse me, ma'am," she said politely. "We've received a report. May we please check around your seat?" Monica looked surprised but nodded calmly. "Of course," she said, standing up to give space. The attendant bent down and, to everyone's shock, found a second handbag under Monica's seat. Karen immediately stood up from her seat at the back. "There," she shouted. "That's my bag. She stole it. Arrest her when we land." Gasps filled the cabin. Monica's eyes widened in shock. "I don't know how that got there," she said, her voice calm but firm. The flight attendant looked at Monica kindly and said, "Ma'am, please stay calm. Let's sort this out properly." The senior flight attendant was called. The captain was informed too. The senior attendant had a smart idea. She knew that planes have small security cameras near the business class section for safety reasons. "I will check the footage before making any decisions," the senior attendant said. Karen froze for a second, but quickly put on her innocent face. Passengers leaned forward in their seats, waiting to see what would happen. The minutes felt like hours. Finally, the senior attendant returned, holding a tablet with the footage. She stood in the aisle and said loudly, so everyone could hear, "We have reviewed the video. It clearly shows a woman, wearing a white jacket and carrying a red handbag, approaching Miss Monica's seat and placing something under it. All heads turned toward Karen. Karen's white designer jacket and red handbag matched the description perfectly. The senior attendant continued, "Therefore, Miss Monica is innocent, and the person who made the false report will face consequences." Karen's mouth dropped open. She stuttered, searching for an excuse, but nothing came out. Passengers who had judged Monica earlier now looked at her with guilt in their eyes. Some passengers even started clapping softly for Monica. Karen was asked to sit quietly until landing. Her face burned with shame as passengers whispered about her behavior. Monica sat back down in her seat, finally allowing herself a small, tired smile. Justice had spoken, but the journey was not over yet. Karma was just getting started. The plane landed smoothly at JFK Airport. Passengers began gathering their belongings, eager to leave after a long flight. But Monica stayed seated, feeling the heavy weight of what had happened during the journey. She kept her hands folded in her lap, her face calm but tired. Across the plane, Karen sat stiffly, pretending nothing had happened, but her hands were shaking slightly. The senior flight attendant approached Monica with a soft smile. "Miss Monica," she said kindly, "please stay seated for a few more minutes after landing. The airport authorities would like to speak with both you and the other passenger involved." Monica nodded silently. She wasn't scared anymore. The truth was on her side. The captain's voice came over the speaker. "Ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated. Security will enter the plane shortly for a small investigation." A soft wave of whispers passed through the passengers. Some looked at Monica with apologetic eyes, realizing they had judged her too soon. Others glanced at Karen with disgust. Karen's face was pale now, but she still acted as if she had done nothing wrong. The plane doors opened, and two uniformed airport security officers entered the cabin. They spoke quickly with the flight crew, and then walked straight toward Monica and Karen. The lead officer said, "Miss Monica, could you please come with us? And you too, Mom," he added, looking at Karen. Monica stood up with grace and picked up her small handbag. Karen stood up too, lifting her head high, as if she were the victim. Both women were escorted out of the plane. They were taken to a private room at the airport. Inside, another officer waited behind a desk. He was middle-aged, serious, and professional. He gestured for them to sit. Karen immediately spoke up. "Officer, thank you for helping. I hope you will arrest this woman for stealing my bag and lying about me." Monica stayed silent, her face calm and composed. The officer looked at Karen and said, "Ma'am, please calm down. We are here to hear both sides." He turned to Monica. "Miss Monica, do you have anything to say before we begin?" Monica nodded and spoke softly. "I did not take anything from anyone. I was sitting in my assigned business class seat the entire time. I had no idea there was another bag under my seat until the flight attendants found it." Karen interrupted rudely. "She's lying. I saw her touch my bag. I demand justice." The officer raised his hand for silence. "Ma'am," he said firmly, "we already have evidence from the airline. The security footage clearly shows you placing your own bag under Miss Monica's seat." Karen's mouth opened, but no words came out. She looked completely shocked. The officer continued, "We also have statements from multiple flight attendants and several passengers who witnessed your actions during the flight." He leaned back in his chair and sighed. "False accusations, causing disturbance on a flight, and attempting to frame an innocent passenger. These are serious offenses." Karen's face turned red, then pale, then red again. She tried to laugh it off. It was a misunderstanding," she stammered. "I didn't mean any harm." But her lies were too late. The officers weren't laughing. The senior officer spoke. "Miss Monica, you are free to go. We deeply apologize for the trouble caused to you." Monica gave a small nod of thanks, her voice calm as she replied, "I just hope no one else goes through what I did." She picked up her handbag and stood. Before leaving, she turned and looked at Karen one last time. There was no anger in her eyes, only sadness. Without saying a word, Monica walked out of the room, her head held high. Meanwhile, Karen's nightmare was only beginning. The officers informed her that she would face charges for false reporting and causing public disturbance. They would forward her case to the airline as well, which meant she might get banned from flying with them ever again. Karen's expensive lifestyle, her pride, her fake reputation, everything was falling apart. All because she couldn't accept seeing someone succeed whom she judged unfairly. Outside the security room, Monica stepped into the fresh airport air. The sky was clear and blue. She called a cab and sat quietly in the back seat, feeling the sunlight warm her skin. Her heart was heavy, but she was stronger now. She smiled softly, thinking to herself, "Some battles you don't fight with anger. You fight them with patience, grace, and truth." Her journey was not over, but she had already won something bigger than just a flight. She had won her dignity back, and karma had handled the rest. After Monica left the security room, she thought the chapter was over, but destiny had other plans. Sometimes, when people do wrong, karma doesn't stop at small punishments. It makes sure the whole world sees. And that's exactly what happened next. Inside the airport, a few passengers who had witnessed everything during the flight were already talking about it. Some were sharing the story with friends and family over the phone. Others were typing quickly on their social media accounts, posting about the injustice Monica had faced. One young man, a college student named Jason, had recorded part of the incident on his phone, the part where the flight attendant announced that Karen was caught on camera. Jason uploaded the short video on Twitter with the caption, "Some people can't stand to see others win. Proud of this strong woman for staying graceful. #karma." Within minutes, the video began to spread. By the time Monica's cab reached her hotel, the story was already trending online. People were angry at Karen's behavior, angry at the unfair treatment Monica had received. But they were also inspired by Monica's calm, strength, and patience. Thousands of people shared messages like, "This is why we must stand together against racism." Her silence spoke louder than Karen's screams. Monica, still unaware of the internet storm, checked into her hotel quietly. She had an important business meeting the next morning and needed rest. She didn't know that by sunrise, her name would be everywhere. Meanwhile, Karen sat alone at the airport holding area, waiting for the paperwork for her case to be completed. Her phone buzzed constantly. Messages from friends, family, and even strangers filled her screen. Some people were asking what happened. Others were criticizing her harshly. Her own actions had trapped her, and now, the whole world was watching. Karen tried to delete her social media accounts, but it was too late. Screenshots had been taken. Her photos were already spreading. Every angry comment felt like a slap. And deep inside, Karen knew she had only herself to blame. Early the next morning, Monica woke up to find dozens of messages from friends and colleagues. "Monica, you're all over the news. Girl, you're a hero. Your story is inspiring so many people." Confused, Monica opened her laptop. She was shocked to see her own face on news websites. Articles had titles like, "Grace Under Pressure. Woman Handles Discrimination with Dignity." Video of passenger facing false accusation goes viral. How one woman's calmness exposed entitlement and prejudice. Monica put her hand over her mouth in surprise. She had never asked for attention. She had only wanted respect. Tears welled up in her eyes, not from sadness, but from relief and pride. She wasn't invisible anymore. Her story had reached millions. Later that day, Monica's company called her. The CEO himself wanted to meet her. When Monica entered the conference room, she was welcomed with warm applause from her colleagues. The CEO shook her hand and said, "Monica, your strength under pressure shows exactly the kind of leadership we value here. You've made us proud. We're promoting you to senior manager." Monica blinked in shock. A promotion, a dream she had worked for years, finally coming true. All because she stayed true to herself, even when someone tried to break her spirit. Far away, in a quiet corner of the airport, Karen's nightmare continued. Because of the criminal charges, Karen was banned from flying with several major airlines. She also lost her job. Her company did not want to be associated with someone involved in a public scandal. Her fancy friends distanced themselves. Her reputation was ruined. No more luxury flights. No more special treatment. No more fake pride. Only loneliness. Karma had moved fast and hit hard. Days later, as Monica sat at a cozy coffee shop, a young woman approached her. "Excuse me," the woman said shyly. "Are you the lady from the airport video?" Monica smiled kindly. "Yes, that's me," she said. The woman looked emotional. "I just wanted to say thank you," she said. "People like you give hope to people like me. You showed the world what real strength looks like." Monica's eyes softened. She stood up and hugged the young woman warmly. Kindness doesn't cost anything, Monica thought, but its value is priceless. And as she sipped her coffee, Monica realized her story wasn't about a fight in an airport. It was about dignity. It was about courage. It was about standing tall, even when others try to push you down. And in that quiet moment, she knew she had won much more than any battle. She had won respect. Forever. While Monica's life was blooming like a fresh spring flower, Karen's world was falling apart. Karma wasn't just fast. It was thorough. Back at the airport, Karen had finally finished her meeting with the officers. But when she tried to call a taxi, no one answered. When she tried to call friends for help, they didn't pick up her calls. Alone, dragging her designer suitcase behind her, she realized she was no longer the center of anyone's world. She was a public villain now, her name linked with racism, entitlement, and shame. And the world had moved on. Meanwhile, Monica returned to her hotel room, still overwhelmed by all the messages she was getting. Celebrities were tweeting about her. Activists were sharing her story. News channels were discussing her grace under pressure. It felt unreal. She sat by the window, watching the busy streets of New York. "I didn't choose this attention," she thought, "but maybe I can use it for good." The next morning, Monica decided to write a post on her own social media. It was short, simple, and powerful. "To everyone supporting me, thank you. I stayed silent not because I was weak, but because I knew the truth would speak louder than anger. Let's choose kindness, always." The post went viral within an hour. People loved her message. They loved her spirit. And they loved the way she stayed strong without losing her kindness. At the same time, Karen's situation got worse. Her employer officially released a statement saying, "We do not support discrimination of any kind. Karen's contract with our company has been terminated immediately." Within minutes, every news outlet reported it. Karen lost her job, her social standing, and her source of income, all at once. Even worse, her apartment complex started receiving complaints. Neighbors didn't want to live near someone involved in such a hateful scandal. Facing pressure, the management sent her an eviction notice. Karen's life was unraveling faster than she could handle, and there was no one left to blame, except herself. Far from Karen's sadness, Monica was stepping into a new chapter of her life. Her company's promotion came with a better salary, a bigger office, and more opportunities. But more importantly, Monica realized she had a bigger voice now. Organizations started inviting her to speak about her experience. Colleges asked her to inspire young students. Media channels requested interviews, but Monica chose carefully, only speaking where her message of hope and unity would be respected. She didn't want fame. She wanted impact. And slowly, she started becoming a role model for thousands. One evening, Monica was invited to a large charity event hosted by a famous foundation. The theme of the night was strength in silence. Stories that changed the world. Monica was nervous. She wasn't used to big stages or flashing cameras. But when she stepped onto the stage, wearing a simple yet elegant dress, The crowd gave her a standing ovation. She smiled shyly and adjusted the microphone. Then she spoke from her heart. "I was judged because of how I looked," she began. "But I stayed silent because I knew the truth was louder than their lies. We don't always need to shout to be heard. Sometimes, standing tall in silence is the loudest statement we can make." The audience listened in complete silence. Many had tears in their eyes. Monica continued, "If you are facing hate, if you are fighting battles that no one sees, remember you are stronger than you know. And the world needs your light." When she finished, the entire room rose to their feet, clapping and cheering. It was not just applause. It was respect. It was love. In a small, messy apartment across town, Karen watched the event on her old television. Her eyes were hollow. Her heart was heavy. She had lost everything. Not because of Monica, not because of the officers, not because of social media, but because of her own cruelty and pride. Karen turned off the TV and stared at the dark screen, seeing her own reflection. For the first time, she realized she had been wrong. And sometimes, sorry comes too late. Meanwhile, Monica's journey had just begun. Her story became part of school textbooks, teaching children about kindness and courage. Documentaries were made about her. She started a small charity to support young women of color facing discrimination. Each step she took was a step toward healing, not just for herself, but for others too. Her name became a symbol of hope. And though life would bring new challenges, Monica knew, no matter what happens, she would always stand tall, with truth in her heart, with grace on her face, and with the quiet strength that had changed her life forever. Days turned into weeks. Monica's life had transformed completely. She was now a known name, not just in her company, but across the country. Schools spoke about her. Newspapers wrote about her strength. Families told her story to their children as a lesson in patience and dignity. Monica remained humble through it all. She never let fame change her heart. She still smiled warmly at strangers. She still believed in kindness. But deep down, she knew one chapter of her story was still unfinished. Karen. One cold morning, as Monica was enjoying her coffee at a local cafe, her phone buzzed. It was an unknown number. Usually, Monica didn't answer such calls. But today, something made her pick up. "Hello," she said politely. There was silence for a few seconds. Then, a familiar voice spoke, weak, broken, and shaky. "Monica, it's Karen." Monica's heart froze for a second. The cafe noise faded into the background. She could hear the fear, the shame, and the regret in Karen's voice. I know I have no right to call you," Karen continued, "but I just wanted to say, I'm sorry." Karen's words spilled out in a rush. "I was jealous," she admitted, her voice cracking. "I saw you boarding that flight with confidence, with grace, and something ugly inside me woke up. I let my anger, my hate, take over." Karen started crying softly on the phone. "I lost my job, my friends, everything," she said. "And I know I deserve it. I just needed to tell you that I'm sorry. Truly sorry." Monica sat silently, staring out of the window. A younger Monica might have felt satisfaction hearing Karen's pain. But the woman Monica had become knew better. Revenge wasn't healing. Kindness was. After a long pause, Monica spoke calmly. "Karen," she said gently, "I accept your apology. Not because you deserve it, but because I deserve peace." Karen gasped softly. "You can rebuild your life," Monica added. "But you have to start by being better. Not just with words, but with actions." Karen whispered, "I will. I promise." Monica ended the call with a quiet goodbye. As she put down her phone, she felt lighter. Forgiveness was not for Karen. It was a gift Monica gave to herself. Meanwhile, the world outside still buzzed with Monica's rising fame. She was invited to speak at a United Nations youth event. Young people from all over the world gathered to hear her. Standing on the grand stage, with cameras flashing and lights shining, Monica shared her journey. She spoke about courage. She spoke about patience. She spoke about the power of choosing grace over anger. When she finished, the crowd erupted in applause. Tears filled Monica's eyes, not because she was proud of the fame, but because she was proud of who she had become. Karen, on the other side of the city, started her slow journey of rebuilding. She took a job at a local community center, cleaning floors, stacking shelves, helping where she could. It was not glamorous. It was not easy. But it was honest work. For the first time in years, Karen felt a small sense of peace growing inside her. Maybe it was true. Life punishes you when you hurt others. But life also forgives you when you change. Months later, Monica received a simple letter in the mail. No return address. Inside was a short handwritten note. "Thank you for forgiving me when I couldn't forgive myself. Because of you, I am trying to become a better human being." It was signed, Karen. Monica smiled as she folded the letter. People change. Hearts heal. And sometimes the greatest victories are the ones no one sees. That evening, Monica stood on her apartment balcony, watching the sunset. The sky was painted with colors: deep orange, soft pink, rich purple. It was beautiful, just like life, full of storms, but also full of hope. She closed her eyes and whispered a quiet prayer of gratitude. For the struggles, for the lessons, for the victories born out of kindness. Because Monica knew, life was not about who shouted the loudest. It was about who loved the deepest. And in that love, she had truly won. Forever. Months passed by like a gentle river flowing towards new horizons. Monica's life had completely changed, but not in the way most people thought. Yes, she was famous. Yes, she had received awards, honors, and invitations to speak at important events. But the real change was inside her. She had discovered something more valuable than fame. She had discovered her true strength. One bright morning, Monica stood at the entrance of a beautiful new building. Above the door, golden letters shined under the sun. The Monica Hope Center for Women and Girls. It was her dream project, a safe place where young women, especially women of color, could come to learn, grow, and build their futures without fear of judgment or discrimination. Monica's heart swelled with pride. Not pride in herself, but pride in the fact that her pain had created something beautiful for others. As she walked inside the center, Monica watched young girls laughing, reading, and painting. She saw hope in their eyes. She saw dreams being born. And she realized, this was her real victory. Not the headlines, not the awards, but this: creating a space where love defeated hate, where hope defeated fear. Meanwhile, Karen's life had also changed, in a very different way. She now worked at a shelter for homeless women. No one there knew who she had been. No one judged her for her past. Every day, Karen cleaned rooms, served food, and listened to broken stories. Slowly, she began to understand what real struggle looked like, and what real kindness felt like. For the first time, Karen's heart softened. She no longer saw herself as better than others. She saw herself as equal, human, flawed, but trying. One afternoon, as Monica was preparing for a speech at her center, she received a small envelope. Inside was a folded piece of paper. It read, "You turned your pain into light. You turned my darkness into learning. Because of you, there are now 2 women trying to be better. You and me. Karen." Monica smiled gently. Forgiveness had done what hate never could. It had healed 2 souls at once. Later that evening, Monica stood before a large crowd at her center's first big event. Young girls, their parents, and community leaders filled the hall. Monica took a deep breath and began to speak. "When I faced injustice, I could have chosen anger. I could have chosen revenge. But I chose something harder. I chose grace. And today, I am not here because I fought back with hate. I am here because I fought back with kindness. The crowd listened with wide eyes and open hearts. Monica continued, "Strength is not in shouting louder. Strength is in standing taller. Strength is in choosing love when the world shows you hate. And that strength, that light, is inside each of you." Tears filled many eyes. Because Monica wasn't just speaking about her story anymore. She was speaking about everyone's struggle, everyone's journey, everyone's hope. After the speech, a small girl about 9 years old approached Monica. She held out a drawing. It showed Monica standing tall, wearing a superhero cape, with the words, "My hero." Monica knelt down and hugged the little girl tightly. At that moment, Monica realized her journey had truly come full circle. The girl she used to be, silent, scared, unseen, had grown into the woman standing tall today. And now she was helping other girls find their voices too. Far away, in her small apartment, Karen looked out of the window. She wasn't rich. She wasn't famous. But she was changing. And that was a kind of wealth too. Karen knew she had a long way to go. But for the first time, she was walking the right path. And sometimes, that's all that matters. As the sun set behind the city skyline, painting the world in shades of gold and pink, Monica stood on the roof of her center, looking at the horizon. She felt the cool breeze on her face. She heard the laughter of children below. She felt the peace in her heart. Life wasn't perfect. It never would be. But it was beautiful. And as long as she kept walking with kindness, courage, and grace, Monica knew no darkness could ever steal her light again. Because real strength wasn't about fighting battles outside. It was about winning battles inside. And Monica had already won the most important one. Forever. A year later, Monica found herself once again at an airport. It was the same airport where everything had begun, where pain had entered her life, and where change had started. But today was different. Today, Monica wasn't a silent traveler. She was a keynote speaker for an international peace conference overseas. As she walked through the terminal, pulling her small suitcase, many people recognized her. Some smiled warmly. Some came over to say thank you. But Monica stayed humble, giving each person a soft smile and a kind word. She hadn't let fame make her forget her real mission, spreading kindness. As Monica waited at the boarding gate, she noticed a young girl sitting alone. The girl looked nervous, holding a small backpack tightly. Monica walked over and sat beside her. "First flight?" Monica asked kindly. The girl nodded shyly. "I was scared too on my first flight," Monica said, laughing softly. "But trust me, it will be beautiful." The girl smiled a little, feeling more at ease. And just like that, Monica turned a stranger's fear into comfort, with a few simple words. It was a small moment. But Monica knew. Sometimes small moments create the biggest changes. As the announcement for boarding echoed through the terminal, Monica stood up and adjusted her scarf. She took a deep breath, feeling the familiar excitement of traveling. But before she could move forward, she heard a voice calling her name. "Monica." She turned and saw someone she didn't expect to ever meet again. It was Karen. But this Karen looked different. She wasn't wearing flashy clothes or expensive makeup. She looked simple, sincere, and nervous. For a moment, both women just stared at each other, memories flooding back. Karen stepped forward, holding out a small wrapped box. I wanted to give you this," she said quietly. Monica hesitated for a second, then accepted the box. Inside was a delicate bracelet, hand-woven, with a tiny charm that read, "Kindness wins." Karen's voice trembled as she spoke. "I'm working at a center now, helping others, trying to fix the broken pieces. I'll never be able to erase what I did to you. But because of you, I learned how to change." Monica smiled gently. She saw no hate in Karen's eyes, only regret and hope. Maybe not everyone deserves a second chance, but Monica believed everyone deserved a chance to become better. She reached out and shook Karen's hand firmly. I wish you peace, Karen, Monica said sincerely. Karen's eyes filled with tears. As Monica turned to board her flight, Karen stood behind, whispering softly, "Thank you for everything." On the plane, Monica sat by the window, watching the clouds float by like soft dreams. She thought about her journey, how a single moment of cruelty had almost broken her. But instead, it had made her. It had given her purpose. It had given her strength. It had shown the world that dignity, silence, and kindness were stronger than hate. Life hadn't given her a fair beginning that day at the airport, but Monica had written her own ending. A beautiful one. Later, as the plane soared high into the sky, Monica opened her laptop and began typing a message for her followers. "Today, I returned to the place where my story began. But this time, I left with peace, not pain. Always remember, kindness is not weakness. It is the strongest force in the world." She smiled and hit post. Within minutes, her inbox filled with messages of love, hope, and gratitude. Monica leaned back, closed her eyes, and let the gentle hum of the plane lull her into a peaceful rest. She was flying not just to a new country. She was flying into a future she had built herself. Meanwhile, in a small community center in the same city, Karen was teaching a group of children about kindness. Using art, stories, and games, she helped them understand how important it was to treat everyone with respect. Karen had fallen once, badly, but she had gotten up, and now she was using her second chance to make sure fewer people fell the way she had. As the sun set across the wide skies, casting golden light over cities, oceans, and hearts, one truth became clear. Pain can break you, or it can build you. Hate can consume you, or it can teach you. The choice is always ours. Monica chose to rise. Karen chose to change. And because of those choices, the world, even if just a little part of it, became a better place. Monica's story was not just a story about a bad moment at an airport. It was a story about humanity, about how hate can be defeated, not by more hate, but by quiet, powerful, unstoppable kindness. As her plane landed softly in a new land, Monica opened her eyes. A new journey was waiting, and she was ready, with her heart full of courage, with her spirit full of light, and with her story, a story the world would never forget.